Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Major developments last night, especially some serious Scrimbux getting leaked to various teams. We saw Sentinels, we saw Envy, we saw Furia, we saw Cloud9 in action last night, but especially what's going on in Europe with Team Vitality. A couple of scrims they played against BBL and we're getting absolutely slammed. Is this what Chronicle left Fnatic to join? Are they going to get better in due course? Is this simply an anomaly and they are testing some things out? Lots to get into today. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Munchkin, is he coming back? Time will tell on that one. Some other roster updates to discuss as well. The first confirmation was from Leviathan yesterday, confirming their lineup for next year. So King, Sato, Spikezan, Neon and Blows. They're rounding out their team. We've seen this rumored for a little bit of time. They need a 6-man as well. That, I imagine, will be confirmed in due course. The other confirmation we got, and look, we're just going to talk about the Americas real quick because some of these rosters are very, very interesting, I think. It's also a massive year for many of these rosters, especially with what Fury are doing, signing Alim, and they're going a slightly different direction. Loud's continuing with majority Brazilian core, so of course Kawazan, Pancada, and Luxo, with a couple of others joining, like Verti, for example, as well, to round out that roster. The question is, for many of these orgs, what are they doing for next year? 2027, the franchise agreements get renewed. Many of these organizations might be on the chopping block. You know, we've talked about Furia. I think that Riot, given that there are rumours that there could even be further changes coming before this season begins, in terms of which organisations have their partnership either revoked or continued, there could be some orgs that are potentially in consideration. You know, times have changed since the league first came around. So for many of these orgs, they need a big year in all regards. They need to be competitive, they need to deliver good content, they need to support the scene well, do the things that Riot want them to do. Is that going to be the case for these teams that are getting formed? Some of them probably yes, some of them probably no. So that's Leviathan's roster. Evil Geniuses, I actually really like this team. I don't know if I like it in terms of competitiveness at the top level, but I'm very excited to watch it, right? Like, I'm very glad that they formed this team. I think it's very, very interesting. So, it's a Vietnamese core, effectively. Bao, Okonos, and Supermen. They are starting off the roster. Com is back. He's now in-game leading. Nature is gone. That was confirmed the day before yesterday. And then DG's rounding out the team, which is such a cool storyline. They confirm it here that he's in. So, very hard-working player, very talented. Yeah, he's had his problems on certain teams in time, but I think that he'll really appreciate this as a great opportunity. And, you know, you can see that it's also pretty good for EG, right? I mean, this tweet they did got 8,000 likes, and as he says, appreciate you believing in me, Vamos, and all this. So I thought it was actually a really cool story, because I think for Evil Geniuses, this could be a really big deal. We know that DG as a player is talked about quite a lot. He's got lots of support from the Brazilian region. The idea of EG bringing him in, you know, it makes them more of a talking point, right? I'm not saying they've done it for that reason. I actually don't think they have. I think it's a fortunate side effect, because Evil Geniuses, apart from when they won the World Championship in 2023, they've not been massively cared about, have they? They've not been massively talked about. No one really is that interested in watching EG games. Okay, of course, with Ye, it was kind of interesting early doors. But at least now, I think that in terms of their fan base, they're broadening that horizon a little bit. I think it makes them a bit more compelling. Maybe that was part of EG's thought process when it came to choosing to bring DG on, is like, okay, from Riot's perspective, this will look more positive than negative. But also they've got to deliver, right? They've got to do a good job. That is a key question. And yeah, EG 2026, Bao, Okonos, Supermen, DG, and Com. How many regionals? How many internationals? Well, you know, you're not expecting them to win anything majorly, but I think it's still an interesting roster. Com says, excited to join EG again, take on a new role as IGL. Excited to do it with this group of people. So we'll see how Com gets on, right? IGL Com is going to be, again, it's interesting. Like, I think there's lots of interesting questions with this roster. Sense of nostalgia being back with the org that I won a championship with in 2023, not just a championship, the World Championship. This group will surprise you guys in 2026, and if you don't believe that, then we'll prove you wrong. Also, believe in the organisation and what they've achieved. EG Com is back, and yeah, Rocket Bullet says, pretending this team isn't going to be dead last, I'm done. We'll see about that. So we'll see, right? We'll see. I don't think they're going to be dead last. I actually kind of like it. I don't know if they're going to be that good, but yeah, Com says, look, have confidence, have faith, we're actually going to be quite good. Now, there's other updates as well. 100 Thieves, they are playing the Fun Haver back to basics. This is what they do. This is funny, really, these tournaments, because, you know, these are filled of players who you probably will not be too familiar with or have ever heard of, such as Foam's valiant friends, and they turn up to this tournament wanting to have a little bit of a fun time, play for a $1,000 prize purse, and get slapped around by the actual full 100 Thieves roster. So pretty funny, but at least 100 Thieves are getting their practice in. It was 13-0 on the Abyss, so, you know, it is what it is. Fair play to Foam's valiant friends. They did win a round on the second map. It was 13-1, but at least, you know, Foam got some kills, 13-13. I imagine there was a little bit of playing for kills going on here, recognition that probably they weren't going to win. So, yeah, 100 Thieves lost a round, so congratulations to those boys. But anyway, 100 Thieves, are they going to be any good? It's cool they're getting some practice in. We know that last year, did they play a very similar tournament to this? They lost to that, like, Trust in Plug team or whatever, with some actual notable players on it regardless, but pretty funny. Anyway, Trust in Plug aren't there this year. These were the respective groups and the results of those said groups. And, well, the playoffs over the next couple of days is going to look like this. 100 Thieves get a nice little bye into the second rounds. We'll see what happens when they get to the grand finals. But pretty funny stuff. There is also T-Dog's Money Crew playing in this one. So maybe 100 Thieves can have a little bit of a challenge going on there. There's also been some talk with tournaments upcoming. We mentioned yesterday, you guys probably saw it, Ludwig Tarek Invitational not happening this year. But Sentinels will be running another tournament. So it was rumored yesterday, 100 Thieves actually kind of confirmed it in a little Q&A that they did. There's a SEN tournament coming up. Razor are talking about it. Sentinels are kind of saying eyes emoji. And then they say, okay, the off-season is safe with us. SEN Invitational December 4th through to the 6th. I think that's Thursday through Saturday in December on that particular weekend. And yeah, 3-day events. It's going to be exciting to see who gets invited, because the previous Invitational Sentinels have done either the SEN Invitational in 23 or the SEN City Classics. Pretty much had 4 teams, including Sentinels. So we'll see who they bring on, right? Will it be C9? Will they come back? Likely, you'd expect it to be some different teams to what we saw at the Sin City Classic recently. So maybe they'll, you know, look to bring on some of the other top rivals in the Americas. Maybe EG could come along. I think that'd be pretty interesting to see how they might fare. There's also the Game Changers World Championship still very much ongoing. We saw yesterday a couple of results. G2 Gozen are, well, they were underway. They've now just taken down Nova Esports. So we saw some success in Nova Esports in the first round, but G2 Gozen is one of the key favourites. 13-7, 13-8 on the second map. SRG as well, Shopify Rebellion Gold, they're playing MIBR. And, well, the first map they won 13-1 on the Pearl. But on the Corrode, it now looks like it's a more competitive series. So we'll see. MIBR also one of, you know, considered to be one of the potential favourites for the tournament too. But that's what's going on in the official side of things. But also there's plenty to say about the unofficial matches, as in the scrims that are currently ongoing. So some interesting results over the last couple of days. We saw Sentinels play a couple of scrim sets versus Winthrop. They're up 14-9. So you can see plenty of the players on these respective organisations here. They also were playing, well, Tall Strong Guy 62. They're up 8-5 in this one. Furia with their roster with Alim and Nerve and EU and those guys. Koala Noob down 4-11. We don't know to who, but that's the roster that I don't think they've officially confirmed yet. They also were getting slapped around by Cloud9, and congratulations Cloud9, because I said, I think yesterday, and over the last couple of days, not seen many scrims where Cloud9 were, you know, looking particularly good. If you see a big enough sample size, you'd expect to see a lot of results. Them getting slams, them doing some slamming, some close series. But for Cloud9 over the last week or so, most of the Scrimbux we have seen haven't been especially favourable for them, but maybe they're putting it together. Maybe Furia is still going to be terrible, whatever players they have. Maybe it's just a scrim, which it is at the end of the day. But still, Penny, Zelsis, Hide on Bush, etc. 16-4 up against Furia. Envy, they played a couple as well. They were down 10-13 here against Stella and Jake. Thought that was pretty interesting. They've still noted here with Rossi, so we believe that could well be their 5th player alongside Kesnit for next year, but who knows how they'll round out their team. Envy, they had another series they were playing as well. This was 8-9. Again, Rossi noted on that side of the stage. Cloud9 then played Envy. This was 6-6, or actually just became 7-6. Inspire just got that round win. So these are some notable Scrimbucks. But I did want to talk a little bit about Europe as well. We also had this one. Furia were down 4-11 again, and Envy with Rossi 14-5. So some other notable results. But let's talk about Europe, right? Because in Europe last night, there was a much more, let's say, devastating Scrimbux, depending on who you ask. This is very interesting. So Pacific Esports, there used to be BBL, right? I mean, okay, BBL Pacific. Those BBL guys from BBL Pacific have just been signed to the main BBL team, and we'll discuss those players in a second, as the Pacific Esports roster did very well. Now, BBL's perspective, no-brainer, right? Their team was struggling last year. Pacific Esports, BBL Pacific had just won Ascension. Sure, sign those guys, bring them in, and basically just trade up. Yes, kind of controversial because was there some level of collusion there? Arguably, absolutely. But nonetheless, still a sensible change, I think, for them to make, and that's what they've done. Now, Pacific need to form their own roster, and, well, apparently, it was looking rather good, because for esports, they've got their own Turkish thing. Pacific are now going to go for their other own Turkish thing, and it looks like the Turkish players are continuing to dominate the region, especially because the same is true for BBL. So that new BBL roster, featuring Kruin, for example, here, who was on BBL Pacific, they're now on BBL, and they were screwing Vitality last night, and you can see that the results were, well, absolutely devastating. 21-2. You very rarely see a Scrimbug that's this bad. I mean, it was also 10-0. It might have been the same map, might have been a different map. So, you know, it weren't looking great, was it, for Team Vitality last night? And I think there are some very interesting questions here, because you can see the new Vitality team with BBL Yampi, right, on the roster listed here from last season, with that new BBL team seemingly doing rather well, but also spotted with Sayonara. And there are some questions here, just as we round out the video, really, because Sayonara is not 18 until March. So he is seemingly the plan to bring him into the roster. Durka, Chronicle, Profec, Sayonara, Yampi, I believe, is the team of 5 they're currently working with. But they, you know, will need another 5th player before they get to March, right? Presumably if Sayonara is going to come in, and the season doesn't start in March, it starts sooner than that. So they will need another player. What exactly are they doing? Are they playing around with Sayonara still anyway? Are they trialing some other players regardless? Who knows? But whatever they're doing, it ain't looking great. And the idea that, yeah, Chronicle has left Fnatic because he had this big offer from Vitality and they've obviously gassed it up. Look, not to say that they won't be very good when the season actually starts, but a Scrimbug like this is certainly going to be notable when it's one of those top theoretical teams for next year. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.